Hi guys, we are now going to deal with quadratic equations. How do we solve quadratic equations? Now there are two methods on how to solve quadratic equations. Now the first method is by factorization. Now what is factorization? Factorization is the process of breaking down the quadratic expression into two factors. So, and then take each factor and equate it to 0, and thereafter solve for x. Now that is the first process. Now the second process is by using quadratic formula. Quadratic formula. Now, where do we get that formula? How do we do it? Okay, let us first start with factorization. That will be the first option. Say, for an example, we have a quadratic equation which is 2x squared plus 3x plus 1 equals 0. Now, the first thing that we need to understand is the quadratic equation is an equation whose highest degree is 2. So, how do we factorize that? The first thing that you need to do is to find the factors of the first term and the factors of the last term. When added up, you look at the last term, the last term sign. It's positive. If it's positive, it means the signs should be the same, and that should be the sign of the middle term. And if it was negative, the signs should be different, and the bigger factor must take the sign of the middle term. But in this case, it's a plus sign, meaning the signs should be the same, and that should be the sign of the middle term, which is positive. Now, what are the factors of this? We have 2x and x. 2x multiplied by x is equal to 2x squared. And then, what are the factors of 1? The factors of 1 is 1 and 1. And then equate it to 0. But we still have a shortage of the signs here. This is positive. That means the signs should be the same, and that should be the sign of the middle term. That is plus, plus. Now let's check it. X by 2x is equal to 2x squared. 2x multiplied by x is 2x. 1 times this is x. X plus 2x is equal to 3x. And 1 times 1 is 1. So we factorized correctly. So guys, let's continue. The next step, this is factorization. And then the next step, equate with 0. Equate each factor to 0. Now let's take this factor. We have 2x plus 1 should be 0. And on this side, you have x plus 1 equals 0. Now, remember, you have to solve for x and not 3x or 2x. You must get the value of 1 x unit. So in this case, the first thing to get rid is the constants. You take it to that side, and then you undo positive by minus. 0 minus 1, it's negative 1. When you transpose it to that other side, you just change the sign. And then here you will be left with 2x. This is not x. It is 2x. What are we supposed to do there? We are now supposed to undo multiplication. 2x is 2 multiplied by x. Now we undo that in order to get the value of x by dividing by 2, both sides. And then this cancels, this divides into that, it leaves x. And then -1 divided by 2 is -half. So this is how to find the solution of quadratic equations by means of factorization. Now, on that other hand, we have your x will be equal to, we transpose that to that side, it changes its side. Then it will be -1. So that's it. Now, what do you do next? Are you sure that these are correct? Without having, without substituting in the original function, you can't get whether this is correct. Now, in order to assure yourself that that is correct, substitute each and every x value in the original function to get the right-hand side. The right-hand side is 0. Therefore, let's check. We're going to check like this. 2 into, this is half, -half, and then +1. Then multiplied by -half plus 1. Let's check. This is -1 plus this, it gives you 0. Then multiplied by half. That gives you 0, which is that. Therefore, x is equal to -half is correct. Therefore, this solution is correct because the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So the equation balances. So, sorry. Let's take x to be -1 and substitute it in the function. We just replace that by -1. This is -1 and then -1. Then -1 plus 1 is 0, and then -2 minus 1 is -1. -1 multiplied by 0, that is 0. Therefore, they are both solutions. Now, this is also a solution. Now, therefore, they are both solutions. That means -half and -1 satisfy the equation 2x² plus 3x plus 1 equals 0. Now, we are done with factorization. How do we factorize? Break it into factors, equate that to each and every factor to 0, and then what next? Solve for x. Now, the second option, let's use the very same. Let's use the very same equation. In this case, we are not going to use factorization, but we are going to use quadratic formula. Now, let me show you the quadratic formula first. That is, let me use it to get the x value. So we still remember that our x is -1, yes, and x is also equal to -half. We still remember that. So let's do it. Fine. Quadratic formula states that x is equal to -b plus minus the square root of the discriminant. This is called the discriminant, guys. Then over 2a. Now, according to the standard form, this is ax² plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Now, in this case, our a is equal to 2 our b is equal to positive 3, and our c is equal to positive 1. Now, let's substitute in this. Let's substitute. This is equal to minus, then b is 3, then plus minus, the square root of b is 3, then squared minus 4a is 2, then c is 1. Then all over 2 into a, which is 2. Now, when you take, there is no need, guys, to write some steps here. And I warn you, never do that. Even if some of the teachers may like you to do this, please don't, because these steps that they say they should be written, they are not needed when you are in matric. And we must practice this when you are in lower standards. You have to know what is required before you get to matric. So you just substitute. This is also not required. That is the formula, because it will be supplied on your formula sheet. So yours to do is to substitute with the relevant alphabets. So this is 9 and this is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. Therefore, the square root of 1 is 1. Then minus 3 plus 1, that is minus 2, divided by 4. That will be minus 2 divided by 4. And this gives you negative 1 over 2. You just punch this, and then you'll get this. Or, what you do, this is, the whole thing is 1. The square root of 1 is 1. Minus 3, it's minus 3 minus 1. It's minus 4. You get minus 3 minus 1, it's minus 1, it's minus 4 over 4. That is minus 4 over 4, and that gives you minus 1. Now look, guys, this is what we got when we were dealing with factorization. So this is how you do it. You start first by, okay, you can write this, but it is not necessary. What is necessary is you must start scoring points by substituting in the formula. And then you write the answers. You go straight to the answers, guys. Right, now, but how did we get that formula? How did we come to this formula? That is through the use of what is called completing the squares. Let me show you how to do this. Completion of square. Right. We have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now, guys, before you can do anything, please transpose that to that other side. And then you'll be left with ax squared plus bx equals negative c. And then, what do you do next? You divide both sides by a. Okay? And then, what are you left with? This cancels that, then we are left with x squared plus bx over a equals negative c over a. And then, now, when we have this as 1, then we know we can complete the square. How do you complete the square? You have the coefficient of x. Here is x. The coefficient of x is minus, it's positive b over over A. You multiply that by half. Numerator by numerator, denominator by that, then you'll get B over 2A. And then what do? X, it's a plus, then B over 2A, and then you square that. Remember you had this. But let us check. This is equal to x squared plus this times that. That is equal to bx over a. And then this squared plus b squared over 4a squared. Now look at this. We now added this on this side. That means we must also add this on that other side in order to balance the equation. So that is what we do. We add b over 2a all squared in both sides. Then this will be minus c over a plus b over 2a all squared. And then we work out. This is a perfect square. Then we have minus c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. By finding the LCD, that will be 4a squared, and then here we will just multiply by 4a. Then plus b squared. And then on this side you have, what do you have? You have x plus b over 2a all squared. The same applies here. X plus b over 2a all squared. Now the aim is to find the value of x. Now how do we do that? You find the square root of both sides. This becomes b squared, it's positive. It's b squared. This goes that other side, 4ac, b squared, then all over, this is all over 4a squared, and this is equal to x plus b over 2a. Now guys, let's check this. When you transpose this to that side, what are you left with? We are left with x is equal to minus b over 2a. Then this is plus minus, guys. Don't forget to write the plus minus. Then plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. What is the square root of 4? It's 2. The square root of a squared is a. Now look at these two. They are the same. They are common. So this is equal to minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over, look, 2a. Now that is the final step. That is the final step. Now we know that the quadratic formula will look like this. This is how you derive a quadratic formula. So guys, make sure that you know how to derive the formula. Because when you get to grade 12 and even grade 11, you can be asked to derive the formula. How? Prove that in any quadratic equation, x is equal to minus b plus minus the square root of the discriminant which is b squared minus 4ac, all over 2a. That is how you are supposed to do it. So guys, I think now we have to do some exercises. We need to do some exercises in order to understand this. Yeah, the first one. Try this using factorization, and thereafter use quadratic equation. Yes. Yes, the question says use factorization and, that is the first one. Second, use quadratic formula. In order to solve for x. In order to solve for x. Now, I'm going to give you some challenge here, but I'm not gonna tell you where the challenge is. Find out yourself. Okay? Number one. 4x squared plus 5x plus 1 equals 0. That is the first one. Now, number B, 3x squared minus 6x minus 7 is equal to 0. Right. Number C. Suppose you have this. X squared minus 49 equals 0. I am challenging you guys to use quadratic formula here. Use both factorization and quadratic formula. And this is your challenge, guys. And then, after completing that, make sure that you go to your box, that is your ebook, and then answer the questions that follows. Okay, thank you, guys. Till we meet. Hasta la vista. Thank you.